All right, so where are we? Where are we here at the end of this chapter? Well, so this last section they entitled "The Dangers in the Ditches," right? Yeah. Absolute certainty and absolute despair, right? So we return to the question they tell us that was posed at the beginning of this chapter: how much evidence would be enough for Ehrman to trust the reliability of the New Testament? How much evidence, right? Ehrman has admitted that the Bible has the best manuscript evidence of any ancient book, but alas, this isn't enough for him.
Yeah.
Ehrman's skeptical conclusions are the result of an underlying disposition of doubt rather than reasonable conclusions drawn from the actual evidence.
Right. So Ehrman asks, how can we decide what anybody in the ancient world said? And answers his own question by concluding, we can't.
Wow. So we can never know what history was. We'll never know what they said, what anybody said.
Up until, 1950, 1960, the invention of the Xerox. That's when maybe you can start, maybe.
Yeah.
But, 7 years ago, we can't know that Lincoln ever said that or anybody said that.
Unless we have the original documents, we can't know, right? Is what the claim is here.
And even then, you have to trust that those documents are accurate and true.
Right.
However, despite Ehrman's evident skepticism, when turning to task of writing about Jesus in the early church, Ehrman himself assumes the sufficient certainty of the New Testament.
No.
He talks about things that Jesus would have done and thought and the life that was back then.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. Egg on face. Recently, Ehrman has written a book called Did Jesus Exist?, where he argues against a small group called mysticists that Jesus did in fact exist.
Oh, and what's the proof of that? Where does he get his material for that?
Man. So throughout the book, Ehrman rightly defends the historical existence of Jesus, but his arguments are based on the assumption that we can actually know what the New Testament authors said. Oh man.
Wow.
Well, maybe not the salvation stuff, but we know that Jesus exists.
Right.
So we're confident in that.
And we know based on what the New Testament has to say.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
I think Jesus was just added later. There was no Jesus. He reconstructs a historical Jesus using primarily the words of the New Testament Gospels.
Wow. So I can't trust it. I don't know if it's true. I don't, I think it's all been changed. It's been corrupt. But if I want to defend the fact that Jesus did exist, I go to the New Testament to show that is what we see here, right? What do you call that? Hypocritical? I don't know exactly what you call that, right?
If you can't do it for that, you can't do it for any Caesar. And Rome exists. Sure, the Colosseum's there, but you can never know what happened there. You just know a building exists because it's still there. So what does that mean? Ehrman would not be able to make such an argument if he did not trust, at least in a general and significant way, the transmission of the New Testament.
Exactly.
If it's so outlandish, the perfect example is the Gnostics. The Gnostics come in very early. Michael Kruger also has a book about Christianity in the 2nd century, and the Gnostics come in, and one of their main claims, it's kind of they're all over the place theologically, but a majority of a big section of their claims is that Jesus didn't exist at all. Like he existed as kind of a vapor. He was there in spirit form, but not body. And so 1 John you kind of see this proto-Gnostic response. Why is John telling us in 1 John here, that we saw, we touched? He seems very concerned with the physicality of Christ, of the incarnation. Mm-hmm. And so, if the Gnostics are right, if the evil orthodoxy comes by and says, no, we can't have a mystical Jesus who exists in this vapor form. Jesus physically existed, but we're going to wipe out everything. Yeah. So shouldn't Ehrman say, well, we don't know if he really existed or if he's just this apparition. So maybe he's an alien projected version of
course, that's
something.
what the folks that he was arguing against, that's where they were saying that he really didn't.
Right.
And so he uses the New Testament to prove his case that Jesus existed, even though he claims he believes that the New Testament is so corrupt that we don't even know what it says.
Right.
You can't have it both ways, right? One of Ehrman's central points in misquoting Jesus is that scribes at times intentionally change the text, right? Ehrman can make such an argument only by assuming that he can know with some degree of confidence what the original text actually said, right? Otherwise, how do you know they intentionally changed it?
Yeah,
right?
and intentionally. I mean, there's a lot of proof that you have to do for intentional.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say, oh, this line was taken out on the copying way, and it just continued on, and it's lost in the history of the vapor. But it's another thing to say, twirl the mustache and cross it out, and I blotted it out from God's word. Yeah. Those are two drastic claims.
Yeah. So on the one hand, it seems that Ehrman has more confidence in the transmission of the text than it sometimes appears. Right. But yet, on the other hand, Ehrman often still insists on taking an all or nothing approach. So one must either be absolutely certain or absolutely cynical about the reliability of transmission of the New Testament, right? And so again, you can't have it both ways.
Right.